Red eyes. It's coming.
What are you talking about?
There's a creature in the woods. I ran as fast as I could.
Give me the goddamn axe. Come on, beastie.
Travis, that's not a monster. That's the Uber driver.
Shit.
Welcome to another episode of Strangers in the Alps, a slasher podcast. I'm Dan.
I'm Travis.
Sam.
And I'm Frank Vernon.
And it's great to be here. So today we watched... What did we watch, Travis?
We watched Behind the Mask, the rise of Leslie Vernon.
I knew you were going for that
Leslie Nielsen Vernon, also known as Leslie Ann Warren and Leslie Uggams. And Leslie Howard from Gone with the Wind. Okay, all the Leslies have been covered. Travis, you got a log line on this thing?
Yeah, hold on. Let me find that VHS tape. Oh, sorry, I got it. I accidentally pulled the Jim Carrey film, The Mask, first. The next great psycho horror slasher has given a documentary crew exclusive access to his life as he plans his reign of terror over the sleepy town of Glen Echo.
First of all, this movie is in the spirit of the Christopher Guest movies.
Best in Show.
Waiting for. Go ahead. You can go.
No, I was saying.
Thank you. Best in Show. Waiting for Guffman, which you've never seen.
Yes, I have.
It's also like the.
Dan, I have seen Waiting for
Travis!
Guffman.
Please let me talk. Where was I?
I'm trying to get you
trapped
aggravated.
in a cabin with Travis. In the spirit of the of Spinal Tap, which is actually a Rob Reiner movie, and God Spoke. It's the mockumentary where they take the like The Office, which is also a mockumentary. This is a very popular genre. Mm-hmm. In this case, they take the slasher movie genre and they do a mockumentary with it. Basic setup, production crew is following the day-to-day life of this slasher as he plans his big slasher evening in an old house where a bunch of teenagers are going to be partying. And we just sort of follow this journey as we get to the night of the house and the big event.
Yeah, it's a classic slasher setup.
And it covers all the classic slasher. What would you say, Frank?
Tropes.
Yeah, all the tropes. So that's basically it. Am I missing anything that needs to be included at this moment?
No, that's pretty much it. It's pretty self-explanatory.
Yeah, I think so. My thoughts of before I saw the movie, or what would we call it, our pre-thoughts. Mm-hmm. I didn't really have any. We talked about this movie. Was not really given any information about it. When I went on to my streaming, and what do you call that? It's like it's not the push. They call it the card. You know, the thing that you open to watch the movie. You know, they show all the. Is that the
it's
poster?
It's like a
the
title
carousel.
card.
Yeah. You know, it's a picture of a guy in a mask. That's kind of a creepy mask. So I kind of went, okay, it's gonna be a slasher movie. So I was really surprised and really delighted as the opening unfolded and went, oh, okay, this is going to be fun. So I was that's all I'm going to say for now.
Speaking of thoughts and thinking, Dan, I think I owe you an apology. You were trying to talk there and I kept cutting you off, and I hope you'll still be my friend. I made us some lasagna that we can eat later. Please be my friend. We are trapped in this cabin. Frank and Sam don't talk to me often.
Is there meat in the lasagna? Because I love some good ground meat.
Yes. There's some ground meat. Okay, I don't know where I'm going with that.
I think they're trying to do a bit, Sam. Isn't that cute?
They're
It's just not as natural.
we're
I
doing
would say.
We're doing an Italian slasher
A shallow.
lasagna. What are we doing, man? God, just go on.
No.
What did you think of the movie?
No, for the record, I have seen Waiting for Guffman.
I thought you had not seen
I
it,
finally did see it, but we're gonna.
but you have not seen And God Spoke.
That's the one.
So my initial
Oh
thoughts.
no, okay. Sorry, so I didn't. Dan, let me just start. I'm gonna go back to your initial thoughts for a second. When you just heard the title Behind the Mask: The Rise of Leslie Vernon, like, did you what kind of movie did you think it was? Like, at all?
Damn, he was like, you don't read context clues.
I
I
know.
honestly, I don't think I really gave it much thought. I just said, okay, those are the movies I'm going to go see, or those are the movies I have to
Yeah.
watch. I think it's more when I went on Vudu or whatever I watched it on and saw that poster and saw the mask. I just kind of went, okay.
I guess that's what we're watching.
It was kind of, it looks, I'm watching a slasher movie. I didn't know it was a mockumentary. Let's put it that way. I yes, you're right. The title indicates it's probably going to be fun, but I didn't know it was a mockumentary. That's the big thing.
The only reason I asked that is because I don't remember what made me watch this movie. I just remember, I think it was on Shudder, and I had seen the title because I don't think I'd ever heard of it. I just saw Behind the Mask, The Rise of Leslie Vernon, and I just remember then watched it. I don't remember what my life was like before. I don't remember what made me watch the movie. And then I think, Sam, I told you to watch it after, and then I think we briefly discussed it for a little bit. I don't remember. I don't know what made me watch this.
And those are your pre-thoughts?
Those are my pre-thoughts. I never heard of the movie.
Okay, great.
First of all.
Sam, pre-thoughts.
I didn't have any.
Perfect. Frank, what are your pre-thoughts?
I didn't have any either. I heard about the movie, and I was like, what is it about? The title is a little long. And they were like, it's a documentary. Go watch it. And I was like, great. Let's do it.
Wait, going back really quick. You told me, like, don't watch anything, don't read it, just go into it. Because I think at the time I was writing something that was similar to that.
Yes.
So you suggested it.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so I went in blindly. That's it.
Yeah. So
That's it.
So Frank, you said you didn't really hear about this movie at all.
I heard from friends that it was good, but they didn't want to tell me what it was. So
Yeah.
Let me tell you, let me just throw a thought out here because it kind of involves all of us. My initial reaction about 10 minutes into the movie was, damn it, why didn't we think of this?
Oh,
I was so just like, Frank, Sam, Travis, why was this not our movie? Because it just felt like something we could have totally nailed and had so much fun with.
it's definitely in our wheelhouse of
Absolutely. But,
interests.
it's been done. So,
Yeah.
that's
okay.
that's in the drawer.
A lot of things have been done and redone. We can do it. Mm-hmm. But did you want to get into tropes?
Yeah, briefly, because the movie plays with tropes so much, and we haven't really had a discussion yet on, the basics of slasher movies, the tropes that come along with that. So, Dan, you're obviously not like a big slasher buff, but we've all got our dealings with slasher movies. So, slasher is very basic. The anatomy of a slasher is unstoppable killer, group of victims,
yeah.
teens usually, and a final girl. And that's going to be a little thing that I bring up quite a bit. But obviously, the unstoppable killer, that's the start of it. They usually have an origin story. It's usually tragic or, unjust in some way. Then there's the teens, usually not connected to the killer. At least they weren't at the beginning. I think ever since Halloween 2, it's been something that, connecting the final girl to the killer is a thing. I don't think it's always that important.
Yeah, but then within that group, it's always the jock, the nerd, the stoner, and the virgin.
Yeah, because I think, and I don't want to talk about the movie too much because it's just what we say is I really
You don't
like.
want to talk about the movie?
Well, right now, while we're going over the tropes, is there's the one where they're talking to Eugene, and I really like. It's a super meta line, but I like too when he says that Leslie Vernon in the beginning. I like when they follow the crew, and she says, "Oh, why are you doing what you do?" And he says, "Oh, we're here to see how they do it, not why they do it." And I think that was definitely a jab at, like Frank was saying, with Halloween 2, or with like them making franchises now out of horror movies, where it always goes into the story of why, where did they come from, an origin story. But it's like the audience, we don't really care about that too much. I think it's always kind of scary when you leave it up to the imagination. But that's what I kind of took. I thought it was a very meta line that I liked.
It's something that's brought up. That's brought more into focus with movies like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, where by the end of it you're like, oh, you're not really given a lot of information about the killer. It's all about what's happening in the moment. But going back to that cast of characters that are usually in a slasher, the final girl is really the linchpin of it. It's the antithesis of whatever killer is stalking the group. The final girl usually is a virgin. Doesn't always have to be, as we'll see going into other movies. But that's the girl that's got to make it to the end. She's the one that's got to either escape or kill the killer. And that's not usually a title that goes from movie to movie. There are instances where a final girl will either not come back or die in the next movie. And I don't want to spoil what movies that happens in, but I know you guys know exactly what I'm talking about. But
He's not pointing at me, by the way. He's pointing at Sam and... What's your name? Travis.
he's still
That
not.
reminds me of my childhood. I'm just kidding.
But
I'm just kidding.
a lot of these tropes are really iconic in a way that I don't think they'll ever change in a slasher. So I like when movies do their little spins, their little takes on them, because ultimately these archetypes, they're here to stay when it comes to horror movies, when it comes to slashers. And we'll get into it more again when we talk especially about future movies like Cabin in the Woods. But I don't know, what do you guys think? What's your take on the importance of these tropes?
In general, I think it gives you some sort of comfort, especially like us. If we watch a lot of those, we kind of see it like miles away, but at the same time, it kind of gives you that sense of security, knowing that it's going to be the type of slasher that we often chase. So I don't have any problems with these tropes at all.
No, I don't either. Like I said, I mean, I feel like, as fans, we kind of learn to like embrace the tropes, and they kind of become our guidelines, and it's just fun. Like we poke fun at them. We like to point them out in other movies. I mean, I think we all, the three of us, are kind of like our own version of like Jamie Kennedy and Scream, Randy. We just kind of poke fun at it. I think it's fun. Just when I think it's what makes it fun now when you're watching these horror movies with friends, and you can kind of poke fun at everything.
Did you say version or virgin?
I said version.
Both.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
But no, like I said, I mean, tropes are there for a reason. They're a lot of fun. And I like to see, how different films play around with the tropes, how they change them, how they subvert expectations.
Didn't you think, though, going with what we're talking about, and now that I've heard all this, it's interesting that this movie takes a lot of care in explaining tropes. So who was this movie made for? Because when I was watching the movie, I was like, oh, I'm getting a little education on slasher movies. But if I'm you guys, I don't need an education on slasher movies. And almost, does that lower the intelligence of the movie that it's spending so much time explaining to you stuff you already know? Or are you like laughing, going, oh, that's so funny that they're talking about this stuff? I'm honestly asking the question because I feel like I was getting an education watching the movie. And I totally got, what the approach was.
For me, I wasn't bored with it at all. I liked the spin that they would do on that, and I feel like we were able to pinpoint, again, the tropes and things that you would normally see in a slasher or horror, and it's kind of fun to see what they do with it. So I didn't find it boring at all.
I thought it was really funny, actually, the way they kind of like pointed fun at the tropes, because Leslie Vernon was just so excited and so calm about everything when all these tropes happened. Like the one that I thought was hilarious was when they were in the library and Robert Englund came out, and then he was like, oh, Leslie Vernon, and he tried like shooting him, and he runs out, and he goes back to that couple. It's like, I have my Ahab. I have him.
Did they ever explain what an Ahab, like why it was an Ahab? Because I was trying, they
Moby
never.
Dick.
Yeah, Captain Ahab. Yeah.
Captain Ahab is
Also, it's an actual-
obsessed with
Got
Moby
it.
Dick.
So it's a name. Okay.
Yeah, and
Like Robert Shaw was obsessed with the shark. With the
And-
shark, rather.
and
What did
and
I-
all
what-
the like
the shock.
The shock.
The shock.
I thought no, I liked the way it brought up Trump's because, like I said, it was darkly comedic. I also think too where they bring in like the stereotypical library character. I thought the actress they brought in, the one from Poltergeist, and I think this was actually her
Fantastic.
I think this was actually her last film she
It
ever
was,
did.
yeah.
She died after. I thought it was great the way they either brought in a horror icon or just the way they presented the tropes. I'm talking a little too much. Frank, what did you think?
Okay, so initial thoughts. I had a good time with most of the movie. It did feel like it was made. It didn't feel like it was made to educate, though I'm glad that it did give you things that you could learn from Dan. It felt like it was kind of like an inside joke for horror movie
yeah.
fans.
Great,
Yeah.
that's a great way
Yeah.
to put it.
Yeah.
But I had fun. I think it stumbled here and there.
For sure.
Especially in the performances, but
Yeah.
some of the writing late in the game, I kind of felt like I wanted to love it more in the end than I did, but I did have a lot of fun with it. I just think there's a very, very obvious point where the quality changes and it's not always for the better.
I agree. I think like the last half of the second act and then all throughout the end, it got a little bit sloppy. I kind of lost interest in it, even though I've seen it before. I feel like I didn't really care for it that much after the second watch.
Yeah, I think I'm jumping ahead a little when our lead when she says, "Oh, this documentary's done." That's kind of where I always check out from the movie as well. I don't like the second half as much. Going back to what we were talking about with the tropes, is some of them that I really like too that I think it poked fun at was when Leslie Vernon says, "Oh yeah, like I'm sorry, it's actually an industry term. Let me explain it to you," when it's poking out the tropes. I thought that was funny, and I thought too how they were talking about the closet, and Leslie Vernon's like, "Why don't you just go in the closet?" And she's like, and then he's like, "No, I can't go in there. It's like it's a sacred place. I can't go in there." Yeah, I like it there where he goes, "Oh yeah, it's a sacred place." He says, "Oh yeah, it's a code of exit. It's a code of ethics. The closet is a womb. It's like a sacred place." And then at the end, he uses it again with the shed too. I like I said, I think I enjoyed the first half a lot more than the second half.
I would agree with that for sure. Explain. First of all, I thought the aspect of his family was actually really funny. His mom, his dad, this sort of regular kind of American family, only the stuff they're talking about is just sort of crazy. That actually kind of worked for me, but I'm also, the dad was a slasher, a retired slasher. I was,
Yeah.
and then and Leslie's actually never done a slash. This is his first one. I
So
was
it's like his rite of passage.
Yeah.
That he's more of a mentor. He's not Leslie's dad, but it
I
is.
thought it was his
No,
mom.
no.
and
He's
dad.
like a
He's like a
retired-
father
yeah.
figure.
He's a retired slasher.
Yeah. So the director
I
actually.
didn't know they retired.
So the director actually mentioned that Eugene, the mentor, is supposed to be Billy from the original Black Christmas.
Oh.
wow.
Yeah, like his whole backstory lines up perfectly with Billy's. But I actually have to say that's one of the aspects that I loved most about it is that everything was kind of like not by the numbers. What's the word? It was very nonchalant. There was a sobriety
I
about it.
liked the nonchalantness of it. I
They
thought
they don't even bring up the fact that he's going to kill people
No,
until
it was normal.
Yeah,
Yeah.
They just talk about it like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, good job on this thing that you're doing.
Like Frank, a lot of what the tone reminded me of too. Like you said, like I like when, like you said, when it's like, "Oh, I'm retired," and they're talking about the Ahab and everything, and the wife, she's just cooking. Like, maybe it almost feels like you're watching a scene in like Everybody Loves Raymond when they're all sitting in the
Yeah.
kitchen, and it
Yeah.
almost the tone almost, like I said, like the not being nonchalant almost reminded me of the show Santa Clarita Diet
Oh, I love that
a
show.
lot. Like especially like Dan, did you ever see it?
nope,
Do you know what it's about?
I do not.
So Santa Clarita Diet is
5
with
times fast.
Santa Clarita Diet is a show with Timothy Oliphant and Drew Barrymore, and they live in Santa Clarita. They're real estate agents, and she like eats like some kind of like heart or something by mistake. She eats something, and she becomes a zombie. So it's them trying to live in the suburban life and cover up her being a zombie. So sometimes she'll go out and like eat people, but it's only bad people. And so they have scenes where they're in the kitchen and she's meal prepping, so she's stuffing like fingers in the blender and she's chopping, and they're just going on living their daily lives like nothing's wrong. It's like, okay, honey, I'll see you after work.
It's a great show.
Yeah, it's the total vibes. I don't know, and I always really like that dark humor. That it's just very, very dry.
I thought what a great mechanic they used was to make this movie the same universe as all of the well-known slashers like Halloween, like how they had that intro, and that kind of, I feel like for us it drew us in right away.
Well, sure.
So it was, yeah.
The movie frames itself really well at the very beginning with the sort of the background.
Yeah.
Did nobody thought that Leslie reminded you of Jim Carrey? I could not get Jim Carrey in my head the entire time I was watching that movie.
His mannerisms, I think.
Just his whole look is. I was almost
Early
expecting
Jim
him
Carrey.
to go, "Oh, righty then." I mean, it was. Yes.
hate to admit that I actually almost got kind of Dane Cook vibes.
Ew, no, don't say that. No,
I'm
no.
sorry. I'm
Really?
sorry.
You
It kind of
think-
reminded me
like
of like
that douchiness in a
no,
way?
just
No.
like Dane Cook himself, like the way he
Physically.
talks physically.
I think it's just the 2000s vibes, like
Yeah,
the tousled hair but gelled,
Yeah, I think that's what it is.
and like the layered shirt.
The look.
Whopper. No onions. I was expecting that, but no. Dan, going back to the opening, I liked it. Like the open, like the part I don't know why I laughed really hard at was when they were at Haddonfield and they were at Michael Myers' house and you saw the family in there like waving. I don't know why. I thought that was really funny. Like how it was just living daily life, and it's really weird how like they just don't play it off. Like it's like you get it. It's like okay, you got these serial killers. You got Michael Myers. You got Jason Voorhees. It's like okay, they're not gonna go any more extreme than that. It's like even Freddy Krueger. It's like so in this world anything can happen. It's like you actually have the people killing in your dreams, and to them it's daily life.
But you know, it could have. it was risky because it could have gone really cheesy and overkill, like really quick. But
Yeah.
I feel like they didn't expose too much.
Yeah.
So it worked.
Yeah.
I did feel like they kind of rode that line a little bit close, a little bit too close later on in the film. It kind of did feel towards the end, I think, that they were bringing up these references to compensate a bit.
Yeah.
But early on, it didn't feel that way. It
The
felt
setup,
like
yeah.
we're setting the scene, we're setting this universe that you're going to be in. Overall, I appreciated it for that.
Yeah.
I can't knock it for, giving us all a little bit of, slasher love.
Yeah.
What did you think about the transition from documentary style to full-on movie style? When it drops the documentary and goes right into being a feature film. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah,
that one
it's the very line where she
Right.
says it's documentary.
It's basically
done.
Act 3.
Yeah.
I liked it in the beginning when they were showing. I forgot the girl's name, the victim, the girl they picked.
Oh
Or-
yeah.
Not Kate.
You're talking about the girl that
Yeah.
The
wasn't
one
the
that worked
virgin?
the one that worked at the restaurant.
Yeah.
The one that the
Anyway, I liked when they would switch from like for her and then back to documentary, but I feel like after that's when it got sloppy when it switched to the cinematic world
Full
for
on.
me.
Yeah.
That was when it was like
I agree.
Yeah.
I almost kind of feel like it just kind of became a parody of itself.
Yeah.
It became a little too meta. I think like I almost felt like I was because the way they come in, it just didn't make sense to me because they kind of break the line where they're like, okay, we're not in a documentary anymore, we're in a movie, and they go into the house and they're explaining to everyone what's happening. It almost reminds me, I almost thought I was watching a movie where like the characters now got sucked into a TV,
Right.
into a movie, and I didn't like
Pleasantville.
Yeah, I was thinking Pleasantville or that movie Stay Tuned with John Ritter. I guess no one here's seen that
Okay.
movie.
Here's another thing I want to throw out. I'm really curious about you guys' thoughts on this because I had a very strong feeling about this. There's one aspect of the movie that I sort of am wrestling with. In the mockumentary style of movie making, in almost every example, there's a production company following. They're shooting you. They're following your story. So you can't turn the camera off. They are going to cover everything you're doing. The Office, Parks and Rec, or any of the Christopher Guest movies. In this movie, They're the production company. They have the cameras. So therefore, they can turn the camera on and off anytime they want to because they're the ones controlling the shooting. So that only bothered me because there were times like, just turn the camera off. Why are we still covering this? Because that was the cool thing about The Office. That was the main thing about The Office, which launched a lot of these other shows, was you can never turn the camera, and you can never go somewhere where the camera can't cover you. That was their rule and law. So a lot of awkward and uncomfortable things happen, but that's what made it so great. This movie, I know you're going to have an excuse for it, but this movie could have shut the camera. Like the scene, this thing's over. There's still, no, turn it off. And I get why you can't turn the camera off, but at the same time, for me, the logic is not right.
Well, this isn't an excuse, but it's going back into tropes. I think that's like, what have you thought of other found footage films in general? Like, did you see Cloverfield, Blair Witch?
I've seen both of them.
Because see, and it's I remember when Cloverfield came out, that was a lot of criticisms that people got. That people said was like, oh, it doesn't make any sense. Why would they be recording? Oh, the action's going on over here, but they're looking in this direction, and we're not directly seeing.
Right.
I just think it's I'm not trying to use this as an excuse. I just think it's kind of just the genre itself kind of lends itself to it, and if they turn off the cameras, then you kind of have no movie.
But I think it works in Cloverfield's favor because in that movie they're not trying to get that action, and it's still going on. I guess the logic is a little bit of a lazy excuse. Oh, people are going to want to see this. It's like amateur documentary filmmaking. But I think what Dan's saying here, and I kind of agree, is that the logic's just not there for them to keep recording, and I think that's just a failure of not a failure. I think it's the failure to find a creative way to get around that problem.
Yeah, because if you think about it, why are they making? Because they never really explained why they were making the documentary, right? Like,
now that I think about it, no.
Yeah, because
no,
it's like,
they
why
don't, and that brings up a whole other thing. Go ahead,
Right.
that I want to talk about.
And it was like, you're filming the serial killer, and you're filming him kill people. If you put this on air,
You're going to jail.
You're literally going to jail. So why do you think that was okay to go through? And maybe we're thinking too deep into it, but it also brings up that curiosity of like, what are you doing this for?
Exactly. And it also makes me go, why? Okay, we're starting this movie. They're following Leslie. I think they're supposed to know what's going on. Yet somewhere in the middle of the movie, it's like, oh wow, we're really going to kill people? Oh, we can't do this. And that's when I went, wait a minute, what? I had a huge problem with that transition. Mm-hmm. So much so that I went back and watched it again and said, did I miss something? Did I miss something happen? I don't think I did. I just think it's just the movie takes this weird sort of leaps. And again, I go back to, you guys are the ones controlling the cameras. You guys are the ones controlling this production. Not like the Christopher Guest movies where they are not controlling the cameras. The cameras are there following their story.
Mm-hmm.
No, I get it now. It's something. Yeah,
it's a flaw. I'm sorry. It's
no,
a
you're right.
major flaw.
I think the angle was supposed to be, they didn't really believe that he was going to go through with it, but I don't think it works.
But we believe he's going to go through with it from the very beginning, right? We, as an audience, we're not questioning whether this guy's going to have that night.
It could also be because they're wrapped up in the excitement of setting up and finding what he is doing behind the scenes, but when in reality, when it does happen, they're kind of brought back like, oh no, he's really going to kill someone. This shouldn't be happening. But again, like you said, it's a flaw.
It's too late by that point.
Yeah, he's killing him.
I loved, just in storytelling, I loved two turns. Loved when you find out that the Virgin is rocking that guy in the
Oh, yeah, and that's how you say it.
I freaking laughed my butt off when I saw that. First I went, whoa! That was like a real whoa moment, right? But also hilarious, and it just the whole movie just turns on itself, which I thought was such a great moment.
It's a really
for the
good
movie.
twist.
And the fact that our heroine is the Virgin. So that storytelling is great. So if you just took the documentary out, you were just doing a story, that's a great twist.
Yeah, I think that there's a lot of promise with the movie. It fulfills a lot of it in the first half. I think maybe it was just a little undercooked in that second
Yeah.
bit.
I agree.
But I think that twist is good, and I think the Leslie Mancuso twist is also
Oh, yeah. I was gonna say, oh no, it's just some guy.
Yes. It's
Um,
absolutely.
But and this kind of, I'm sorry, I'm going back on another part that I just didn't really like as much was, like I was saying, is when they're trying to convince the teenagers and stuff that are there. They're like, oh no, you gotta understand, this guy's killing, this guy's for real. And it's like, okay, well, the people that were there with him, the crew, they know Leslie Vernon's plan, right? They know what he's gonna do, but then they're there and they're like, oh, he's changing the plan. What are we gonna do? It's like, well, they know where the shed is. They know where everything is. To me, it felt like it was one of those movies where they were like versing a computer or something like that. Was suddenly changed. It's like, it's just some guy. You're all a group of people. Call the police, or I don't know. It just was weird to me how they're like, we don't know what to do now. Now that he actually went in this other room, what are we gonna do? It's like, I don't know, like...
There's this other part when they were like, that he knows about the car, he doesn't know about the van, and then they
Yeah.
run to the van, but then the couple was in the van, and then they still try to get the van working. He clearly knows the van's
Yeah.
gonna be the only thing that can escape from, so he's gonna ruin it. I thought that was...
Yeah,
I think the movie was trying to be a little too clever, and it wasn't being clever enough.
Yeah, it
It
kind
was
of
trying
felt...
to, it was making itself feel, smarter
Yeah.
than it was being.
Yeah.
And it's kind of glaring when you think back on it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think what it is just, to me, it's like the level. I know this is an audio podcast, but I'm gonna do my hands again. The level of meta just got way too high.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was that one movie I don't like but you did? That was way too meta. It wasn't The Descent. We had this conversation like 2 weeks ago.
Oh, it was the one.
It wasn't Hell House.
No. It was the one with the guy that was live streaming, right?
Yes.
The one where he was live streaming in the haunted house. They did it at
Dreadstream?
Dreadstream.
No. During the pandemic, we were watching like Hell House, The Descent, and then this other one where...
Oh, was it the one with the? Oh, it's the one. Yeah, was it the one with the lake with like the virus?
No, never mind. Never mind. But it was meta. It was like he was in the... I'm not... We need to figure this out.
He was in the house.
He was in the house, and then this was the second one where we got really meta, where it was like, oh, someone's recording him.
Oh, it was Grave Encounters.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Did
Grave
you
Encounters.
watch that one, Frank?
Oh, no, but I've heard
Grave
it gets
Encounters
meta.
1 is great. Well, because 2, the reason it gets meta is because it's a horror trope I don't like. Is the second film, the first film is found footage, and the second film starts with like characters watching the movie, so they acknowledge in the second movie that the first movie was actually a movie, and then they go back to the location from the movie and they're like, oh no, it's real.
Doesn't Human Centipede do
I
something
was
like
gonna
that
say
too?
Yeah.
it only worked in Human Centipede 2.
All right.
face.
I don't think anything works in Human Centipede too.
I don't know.
But I don't know. I just think the level of meta-ness got too high. It was kind of just like, hey, like, remember how Scream kind of like was super meta and like kind of made fun of all these tropes in a subtle way? It's like, let's take that to the extreme. We want to be as like witty as that first Scream movie was. And to me, it was way too much. One of the elements that I liked more, and I wish it went more with, was Sam. I remember we watched this movie a few times during the pandemic. Was it almost reminded me kind of like a more of a comedy version of Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer?
God.
Dan, did you ever see that one with Michael Rooker?
What do you think?
No.
No, I didn't.
I mean, have you heard of it? Have you seen it? Heard about
He
it?
answered that so confidently. I don't know why he asked.
I
the
don't
first
know
one.
that I've ever heard of that movie.
Oh,
I think you would be
and
greatly disturbed by that
So-
movie.
And please don't explain the plot to me
I'm
right
not
now.
going to explain the plot. We'll cover it in an episode because I want to know what you think about it.
It's a classic. We're gonna have to cover it.
It was,
Absolutely.
let's just
I'm
say,
all in, man.
Let's just say it was a film that was completed for like 2 years or like a year, and it wasn't released because the studio didn't know how to market and they didn't know how to release it.
It's disturbing and sobering. You'll
But-
enjoy it.
Sounds great.
So imagine Leslie Vernon, but it's not a comedy, and it's kind of
Which brings me to a great... Would you guys
grimy.
watch this if they take the comedic aspect out of it?
I'm not sure.
It would be really, really dark.
No, I don't think.
Well, it's just Henry Portrait of a Serial Killer.
I think what
That's
makes
true. Never
At
mind.
that point,
I
that's
think
what
what
it is.
makes it is that it is funny.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
the funny, a lot of the things that I've sort of challenged about the movie, or I've maybe used as criticism, when I was actually watching the movie, I just kind of went with it. It was just kind of funny to me. And then a couple of days later, I actually watched it again, not from the very beginning, but like maybe 20 in, and watched the rest of it. And that's where I really started kind of, okay, these are things that really did bother me. Because when the movie was over, the first time I came out, well, that was really kind of fun and clever. But there were things that I didn't like, the documentary aspect of it. And so when I watched it again, I went, yeah, there's a lot of flaws in this movie. But it does get glossed over a lot for the first watch, because you're just sort of taken in by all the sort of fun and kookiness of it. The actor who played Leslie, I thought was outside
great.
being Jim Carrey-ish. I thought he was really good. I wasn't as wild about her as I was about him.
I like
Interviewer?
that movie with
I
Joaquin
thought
Phoenix.
I thought she was good, but I don't know. I thought he was definitely carried the movie.
I think in terms of best acting from the movie, it was definitely Leslie, then Taylor, and then everyone else was like several stories down.
Very,
Yeah, and-
very
and-
much so.
and I think like,
Very low budget slasher movie.
You know what?
Acting.
Even the well, I guess you know what? I can't say that about Robert Englund. He's up there somewhere, but he's
Dr. Loomis.
yeah.
He's
Okay,
a-
so let
he's
me
a-
revise that.
He's a far better actor than he got to be in this movie.
Yes.
Let's just put it that way.
So Leslie Vernon, then Robert Englund, then Taylor, then everyone else.
Oh, you put Leslie above Robert Englund? Or in this scenario?
In this scenario, yeah.
I agree with you, Frank. So for me, it's Leslie, Robert Englund / all the other cameos, the actress. Then it's me trying to read these lines in the opening, and then under that, and then right under that is those guys that were playing the stoners. Oh my god!
No,
they
you know
should have
what?
actually gotten stoned. It would have been a lot more interesting.
I'm no actor.
We
But
established
That's a
that.
well-established fact.
With me, I was like, I don't know. Were
You would
these
have been a better stoner than them,
No,
yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't know. Were these guys that were just kind of hanging out watching, or were they like PAs or something like that? I was
They
like,
were the stoned PA.
I guess I don't know. It was
The
go to a Taco Bell at 12 a.m. and you find these guys
the
working there.
the supposed final girl. She towards the end when she realized she was gonna get killed, reminded me, controversial, Kristen Stewart in Twilight.
Yeah, a little bit.
The way she was acting, just like playing with the hair and just like, oh my god.
Oh yeah, the playing with the hair thing was distracting, but also
That was yeah.
I think that's deeply insulting to any actress to be compared to Kristen Stewart. I will just say that right. And I will
Kristen Stewart,
I will
actually
stand by
good.
that in
you know,
any.
I feel like in the Twilight world, horrible.
that's
But-
what that's the only world I know.
No,
oh, you know what?
Really?
She's surprisingly
She's really good.
good. She has range.
Yeah.
It's just not in any of her big things. She's
Yeah.
doing a lot of indie
Independent
stuff,
stuff, yeah.
and in a
Nice.
lot of that,
mean,
she's
she got-
really, really good.
She got
So
Oscar
she's not
noms
good
for
with a
Spencer.
budget. In other words,
Yeah, pretty much.
But it just sucks that this overshadowed her recent work.
she has a lot of range. She can go underwater.
Ay.
But no, she was in a movie called Underwater. Another.
Oh wait! Before we go further, though, I just have to say you mentioned the final girl. This movie, the one fucking nitpick that honestly it took a whole point off. This movie is a love letter to slasher films and slasher films fans. Why are you calling her a survivor
Oh,
girl?
yes.
That's
Yes.
not the fucking term.
Yeah.
I thought it
It's
was this
Final
something.
Girl.
I thought it was something that changed, like
No,
It's
throughout the years.
Frank, it's because it's an
been
industry
Final Girl
term.
for a long time.
It's an industry term.
interesting.
industry
I
term.
wonder why they did that. Is that just a flaw in their just
Maybe it
a
was
mistake on
copywritten.
their part?
It was
No.
copywritten.
It's got to be a mistake on their part.
Then they're
because
clearly
it's-
not horror people.
Well, when did
Yeah,
the,
because
when
now
did,
I'm questioning the entire film.
when did the film Final Girl come out? Because I remember there was that whole film. Remember too, the Final Girl.
Final Girl came out in like 2015,
Well,
and
Wasn't
then
that with Abigail Breslin?
yeah, and then
Yeah.
Final Girls I think came out in 2016, or
That's
it
what I
might
was
have been the
thinking,
same
Final
Final
year.
was
Girls.
fun.
That's what I
Yes.
was thinking. I was thinking maybe it was too close to the release, so they kind of
No,
wanted
this
to.
was 2006.
yeah,
this
this
was
was a decade
way
after.
earlier.
Yeah, I didn't know. I'd seen Final Girls, but
Did you not see the quality of what we were watching it on, sir?
Well, we had an SD copy, so I don't know.
That's
It
why.
couldn't one had a bigger budget than the
Yes.
other one.
SD.
And this was after Scream, so
wow.
we know
Standard
for sure.
display.
Definition.
Standard definition versus high definition. What year is that? SD.
Dan.
You just call me Sam.
Sometimes
so-
we don't get the
You're
best
welcome.
reception in this cabin when we're watching movies. I'm sorry, I can only watch it in SD. It's a VHS tape.
Can we
So
just
moving on.
Can we just real quick though? Just SD. Last thing that what year are we talking? I haven't heard the term SD in at least 15 years.
Standard definition.
Right. But I mean, that has not been a choice in 15, 20 years. No.
They still make
15 years, maybe?
DVDs. They still make DVDs.
Is that what that red box thing is in front of Ralph's?
They sell them probably in Ralph's too. I don't know. DVDs are a thing.
I've tuned you guys out.
DVDs
Yeah, I don't
actually.
even know
DVDs,
where we're going here.
DVDs
Okay.
outsell
what
Blu-rays
I
and
like-
4K.
Rise of
what-
Leslie Ann Warren.
What I liked was that you feel not connected, but you like the killer. This what I like. What I like about this movie is how they set up Leslie and how you're supposed to hate the killer. I mean, you don't really like Michael or Halloween. You don't like Freddy Krueger, but with this one, you're like, yeah, you kind of cheer him on. You kind of want him to like succeed in what he was setting up.
He's charismatic.
He is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely, I agree. I thought, and he was the most. I mean, it's his journey, and he has a very clear path as to what he's trying to achieve. Unlike our heroine, whose path was very rocky and shifted and reversed in the middle, and with I don't know that whole thing where all of a sudden she's like, I don't want to do this. I was like, well, then you leave and I'll take that over for the rest of the movie, because what are you talking about? I just found it very uninteresting, that whole
It felt
whole
like
shift in
a
the storyline.
It felt like
Well, forced.
yeah, it felt like a forced attempt at trying to give her character some complexity, but it's not really necessary because you don't set up any of that. You know, they don't believe he's actually going to go through with it until they start not believing and saying, "Oh, he's really going to go through with it." So like, that's not set up. It's not developed. You know, she never grapples with it until the very end. I don't. It's if they had kept it mockumentary the whole way through, had some fun with the ending, not involved the documentary crew in on it, I think it would have been a lot.
Yeah.
We would have come out with a much better film.
I agree.
At this point, though, when they're at the library and he doesn't, it's like, it's gonna happen. You know this going through. If you don't want to go through it, say it when you're leaving the library. Instead, they were all excited, like you did it. Yeah. Like, what do you think was gonna happen?
She was excited to help him scare the girl. Like
Exactly.
she was the one pulling the brick, and she knew what she was doing.
And then even then too, speaking of her being excited, there was the whole scene when he was explaining his plan, and then she starts explaining the plan afterwards. It almost kind of reminded me of Michael Pena's character in Ant-Man. When he's explaining the stories, like the recaps.
One time,
Yeah. I don't know. I didn't really buy it either, and I think it's why I said, and I'll say it 10 more times, I don't like the second half of the movie. I think it definitely lost its creativity and didn't know how to tell all the murders happening and its climax. It didn't know how to tell it as a mockumentary, so it just decided to say, you know what, we're just going to go traditional. They're going to put the cameras away. We're just going to shoot it as a standard movie.
I think you nailed it. I
Yeah.
really do. I think it's exactly. You're right. It bailed on the mockumentary and just said, "Oh, this will be clever. It'll now just become a movie that they're all in."
But
And-
see, they don't do anything interesting with it.
No.
Even the group that they're following, the teens and the supposed final girl, they don't do anything. They're just uninteresting teens at the end of the day. Badly acted at that. You know, like there's no flavor there. So once they go straight, the documentary crew becomes a lot less fun to follow, and then the group of teens isn't fun at all. The only person that's fun is Leslie, and you know he's in that unstoppable killer role, so you're not really having a lot of screen time with him to have fun with him. So
That's true. yeah, I don't know how you would handle it, but you do lose Leslie in that last act. He becomes the unstoppable killer, and all that great, wonderful personality that he had and getting up for that was gone.
I mean, where are you going to get a line like, she's empowering herself with cock?
So you're so you're pro-life and a misogynist? No, chauvinist.
I do love massages, so.
Really. So,
Hi. Final thoughts. Dan, you go first.
Well, no, it's not final girls. It's survival thoughts.
Surviving thoughts.
Surviving
survival
thoughts.
I gotta think of what I'm gonna rate this. What I'm gonna use as my rating system. Somebody.
I will say I do. There's a couple of things that are okay with that switch in style at the end. I just wish they were part of either a different movie or a better version of this movie, and that's that the 16 millimeter texture in those shots is really beautiful. It really does look like an old slasher film. The way it's lit, the way it's composed, it's all really nice. It just, everything else, the acting, the writing, doesn't really land. And there's a couple of really cool shots that I think, even now, I think they're kind of iconic with horror fans, but like the shot of Leslie standing at the end of the road with being backlit when he flips the scythe.
Yeah.
Yeah, stuff like that's really cool. Like that stuff is the kind of stuff that you want to see in a horror movie. Things that you'll remember after.
Yeah.
And I think it in some ways it does deliver on that, but I think the fact that it doesn't land that ending in that last act hampers its legs in terms of how far it's going to go in the horror consciousness.
What would
Frank,
you
that
rate
felt
it?
very much like your final thoughts.
what would
And
you
how
rate
would you
it?
rate it?
Yeah. So overall, I loved it. Easter eggs were a little on the nose, except Easter eggs were good, except for sometimes they were very like remember, But it was fun. Fun first half. Second half falls in quality. I know that they wanted to do a prequel. Forever ago, this movie's been out for over 10 years now, so I doubt that's going to happen. But if they ever wanted to go back and do more with it, I'd still be down to see it. And I'm really glad that it's part of the horror movie family album, so to speak. So I'm going to give it 3 gratuitous tit shots out of 5.
Like Total Recall.
I'll jump in. Go ahead. What's the joke? Total Recall.
3 tits.
I still don't get it.
All right.
It's a character
Speaking
with
of
3
not
boobs.
getting it, what's your final thoughts?
Okay. All right. Like I said earlier, when I watched it, I just was really surprised that it was a mockumentary. So I was really delighted by that. I love that genre of mockumentaries. So I really enjoyed that ride. As the movie progressed into the second half, I was getting more disappointed because it did bail on what was so delightful about the first half. And so I'm going to just wrap it on, say, I'm going to take the first half of the movie. I'm going to give it 2 separate scores. I'm going to give the first half of the movie 4 masks, and I'm going to give the second half of the movie 2 crooked slasher masks. So what is that? 2 and 4. You combine that with math. That's 6. What about a 3?
I have a question before I give my final thought. On the tech side, what makes because you have the documentary feel and then you have the cinematic. What makes it different? Is it like the cameras?
I think the cameras they use, maybe the frame rates.
The camera,
The-
the
the
frame
frame
rates, the composition even.
Yeah.
Handheld versus on a
Okay.
Probably the
Multicam.
color grading.
Yeah, the
So
grading.
there's
Yeah.
a lot that goes into
There's
it.
a lot, yeah.
Yeah, the mockumentary stuff's probably on digital. So the dynamic range of the image is a lot lower, but the dynamic range of the image is lower, and then with the film stuff, it's 16 millimeters, so you're gonna get a wider range of colors. You're gonna get that grain, that texture that really sets it apart from the stuff that's shot on digital usually.
Okay. Well, thank you. I was always curious about that. My final thought, I liked it a lot, even with the second viewing. I like the aspect of it being a different concept. We don't get a lot of movies where they kind of side with the killer or you get to see their thought process or how they go about things. So that really intrigued me. But like everybody here, I think the second half really fell flat. But I still like the first half enough to compensate for what I felt with the second one or the second half. So I'm going to give it a 3 preparation H's out of 5.
That's a lot of preparation.
Just a lot of prep.
That's a lot of prep work.
So I agree with Sam, and kind of what we're all saying is, I think, Dan, to kind of go back to what you said at the beginning, why didn't we make this movie? It's a brilliant concept that doesn't require a $5 million budget. You know, it doesn't. I think it's a simple concept that's brilliant, and I feel like at the time it came out was kind of when you had some found footage horror movies coming out. It was only a few years after, like, you had Freddy vs. Jason come out. I think you just had the Halloween remake was announced that was coming. You had Texas Chainsaw Massacre remake. So I thought it was good. You kind of took these two popular genres and blended them together and made it work with a low budget. I thought it was a lot of fun. I thought it was genius. I just think the second half, like we all said, fell flat. They ran out of the creativity. I don't know what happened. I even want to go as far as say make it a Christopher Guest movie, have the twist be that Fred Willard ends up being the villain, or Eugene Levy even shows up.
Sadly, Fred Willard is no longer with us.
He was with us in 2007, though.
Yeah, he's no. Oh.
Yeah.
Well, we can't go back to 2007 and make the movie,
they should have had
Travis.
him. I'm saying they should have had him
Oh,
in there.
shoulda, woulda,
Yeah, I think that
coulda.
would have been
Okay.
hilarious.
And what is your score?
I'm gonna say a little bit of my thoughts first.
A little bit. That was a
lot of
bit.
it.
Yeah.
No, I'm just joking. I was
Rinse and repeat.
No, that was the end of it. Was I'll give it. I'm gonna meet in the middle like everyone. I'm gonna go 3 out of 5 pet frogs.
Nice.
That's cute.
And thought last I heard with the sequel or prequel, whatever they wanted to do, is I think in 2017 the director had said he was having trouble now because he feels like the horror genre in recent years has changed so much. He feels like his style with the film wouldn't really work anymore. And I feel like, I know we had heard of this film. I feel like this film I don't think is available enough. It doesn't get people's attention. I think it only got one home video release, and it's really hard to find. It's been out of print for a few years. I think Shout Factory released it. So I don't think we're going to get a second one ever.
Oh.
No, I would love to see it though. I think they were planning on calling it Before the Mask. So Before the Mask, then Behind the Mask.
Son of the Mask.
But like Behind the Mask was kind of like VH1 Behind the Music. That's what
Yeah.
I was thinking.
That's why I liked
Right.
it. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
a
Right.
cool...
Twist.
I think that is where they got it
It's behind the music without the music.
from. Okay. So, what are we watching? What's our next one?
Next week we are watching. Hold on. Shuffle, shuffle, shuffle,
Shuffle,
shuffle,
shuffle.
shuffle, shuffle. We're watching a classic. I know you love this one, Sam. Battle Royale.
Oh yeah, I thought you were
Yeah.
saying sarcastically, Dan. I cannot freaking wait for you to watch this one.
Yeah.
You're gonna hate us.
I don't know why
This
I thought we were
one's
doing...
great.
I thought we were doing Scream.
When you look at me and smile at me like that, Frank, and say, this one's great, I want to come running out of my house screaming,
Well-
jump in my car, and drive off a
That's
cliff.
what's gonna happen when
Dan,
you watch it.
let's just say this, and I know you should be happy when Frank says this is great, because who would you rather have say this would be great? Frank say this would be great, or me say this is great?
He did
I'll
like
let you
Christmas
know
Evil
next
though.
week. I'll let you know next week.
If you don't like it, it's my fault.
That's true.
All right, Battle Royale. Okay, that's it for another episode of Strangers in the Alps, a slasher podcast. Like us, love us, review us, share us, link us. I'm Dan.
I am Travis, I think.
Sam.
And I'm Frank Mancuso.
And we're out. You want to read read that first sentence again?
The next great psycho horror slasher has given a documentary crew exclusive
What do you say?
access.
Exclusive? What?
The next great psycho horror slasher has given a I was reading it too fast.
Slow down.
I'm sorry. I
Enunciate.
ate my fruity pebbles this
Say
morning.
your vowels. Go ahead.
The next great psycho horror slasher has given a documentary crew.